There is a certain morning every autumn when the air in Michigan changes its mind. The heat of summer surrenders, and a crispness settles over the orchards like a held breath. Somewhere down a gravel road, the machinery of an old cider mill begins to hum. It is a sound that has meant the same thing to generations of Michiganders. The season has turned. The mills themselves are rarely grand. Most are humble structures of weathered barn wood and corrugated tin, patched and repainted over decades. Some have stood since before the automobile, their timbers darkened by a century of apple pulp and pressed juice. To walk inside is to step into a room that smells like memory itself. The apples arrive by the bushel, tumbling from wooden crates in a clatter of red and gold. Jonathan, Macintosh, Northern Spy, names that sound like an inventory of old friends. Michigan's glacial soils and lake-tempered air have made it one of the great apple-growing states in the country. Each variety carries its own tartness, its own promise for the press. Cider making is an act of gentle violence. The apples are washed, ground into a coarse mash, and layered into cloth between wooden racks. Then the press descends, slow and relentless, squeezing the fruit until amber juice runs in ribbons into the waiting trough. It is unfiltered, unpasteurized memory, cloudy and alive. This is not the clear, sweetened juice of the grocery aisle. True cider is the color of dark honey and tastes faintly of the orchard floor. It changes from week to week as the harvest shifts from early apples to late. Regulars will tell you, with the seriousness of connoisseurs, exactly which weeks are best. And then there are the doughnuts. No account of a Michigan cider mill is complete without them. Fried in small batches and rolled while still warm in cinnamon and sugar, they are the mill's second sacrament. The oil, the spice, the faint tang of cider in the batter, it is a flavor that lives permanently in the memory of anyone who grew up here. You eat them from a paper bag, translucent with grease, standing in the parking lot with your breath fogging in the cold. The sugar clings to your fingers and the corners of your mouth. Children hold theirs with both hands, reverent. Adults pretend they only came for one. The ritual has a rhythm older than any of us. Families pile into cars on Sunday afternoons, driving out past the suburbs to where the fields open up. There is the choosing of pumpkins, the wandering through rows of trees, the inevitable debate over how many gallons to buy. It is less an errand than a pilgrimage. For decades, these mills anchored the autumn calendar of small towns and growing cities alike. School field trips arrived by the busload. Young couples wandered the orchards on first dates. Grandparents brought grandchildren to the same mill they had visited as children themselves, closing a quiet loop across the years. The orchards put on their own display. Rows of trees blaze into color, their leaves turning against a sky of impossible blue. Hay wagons rattle down dusty lanes, pulled by tractors that have seen 40 seasons. Somewhere, a cider press groans, and the smell of fried dough drifts across the field. Not all of these places have survived. Land grew valuable, and orchards gave way to subdivisions and strip malls. Some mills burned, others simply closed when the last of a family grew too old to work the press. Each closure took with it a small archive of unrecorded afternoons, gone as quietly as leaves let go of a branch. Yet many endure, stubborn and beloved. They have added corn mazes and petting zoos, gift shops and caramel apples, adapting to keep the lights on. But at the center of each still stands the press, and the donut fryer and the essential, unchanged bargain come in from the cold and taste the season. There is something deeply archival about a cider mill. It is a place that resists the acceleration of modern life, insisting on the slow work of grinding and pressing and frying. It keeps a calendar the way our grandparents kept it, measured in harvests rather than notifications. To visit is to remember how time used to feel. And so each autumn the ritual repeats. The air turns, the mills open, and Michiganders find their way back down the gravel roads. They come for the cider and the doughnuts, but they stay for something harder to name. It is the taste of a season that always seems to be slipping away and always faithfully returns.